In her book, she says the White House was broken. This after 2 years along a president who wasn't housebroken. But she only realized this after she stopped getting paid to defend it. But like Jake Tapper's book, it's a new genre of Biden tell-alls that should be subtitled, "I had no idea because I'm severely retarded."
Karine Jean-Pierre looked composed, binder in hand, smile locked in place, but the moment Greg Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly walked into that press room, the whole thing unraveled fast. Greg Gutfeld was firing jokes like a machine gun. Megyn Kelly was slicing through every answer with laser precision, and Karine Jean-Pierre just stood there blinking slowly like someone had pulled the plug on her entire script. It was equal parts painful and absolutely hilarious.
To the Megyn Kellys of the world, who have literally voted until this last election, which put me over the edge on voting more for Republicans. But literally now I've voted in 9 presidential elections. God, I'm getting old. And I voted, it was 4 and 4 Dems, 4 Republican votes up until I voted for Trump again this last time. So it was 5 Republicans, 4 Dems. I've been a registered Democrat. I've been a registered Republican. And now I've been a registered independent for 17 years. That's what an actual political independent looks like. Not like somebody who worked for 2 Democrat administrations until they got the stank of desperation all over them. And she ran for the hills trying to pretend she knows what
If press briefing takedowns were an Olympic sport, Greg Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly would own the podium every single time. This week they turned their full attention to Karine Jean-Pierre, who has a very unique strategy for handling tough questions. She does not handle them at all. She tosses them right back at reporters like a hot potato, then crosses her fingers hoping nobody notices. Spoiler, everyone notices.
Applications you gotta fill out.
That's the thing. Or
What, do you think I meant vaginas?
Ew.
Disgusting people. But now everyone says she's incompetent and lazy. You know, after they called me racist for saying that. That's not why I'm racist.
Nope.
If you are enjoying this takedown, please hit the like button and subscribe, because what used to be a White House press briefing now feels like a bizarre one-woman theater show where real answers are completely off the menu. And Greg Gutfeld, the undisputed king of political comedy, roasted Karine Jean-Pierre so thoroughly it might as well have been a full-blown barbecue. The audience was not laughing with her, they were laughing at the entire situation. And they could not stop.
But really, they're just jealous. These colleagues also played along with the hoax, saying that Joe was doing 75 one-arm push-ups while finishing the New York Times crossword puzzle all before breakfast. They're just pissed she beat them to the publisher's office and to the bank. I expect to see more of these books because of the lifeboats these rats will use to try and escape the shipwreck of the past 4 years. So KJP is now an independent because apparently pretending to be apolitical sells better than admitting your last job was gaslighting America.
Karine Jean-Pierre looked completely scattered, like someone trying to solve advanced calculus while being chased by a swarm of bees, and Greg Gutfeld strapped on his sarcasm like a weapon and made the chaos even more spectacular. Somehow he turned her stumbling answers into pure comedy gold, and the crowd ate up every single second of it.
That's how bad the stink is when one of its worst offenders is fleeing this rancid armpit called the Democrat Party. So should we buy her book? Well, only if your family and friends have a sense of humor. It'll make a great gag gift. You know, like fake dog or rubber vomit. Only the stench here.
While Greg Gutfeld was out there swinging sledgehammers of sarcasm, Megyn Kelly came in cool, collected, and absolutely deadly. No raised voice, no drama, just precise surgical words like tiny paper cuts that sting long after you feel them. She zeroed in on every inconsistency Karine Jean-Pierre served up and dismantled them piece by piece like a seasoned professional who had done this 100 times before.
And her fans are already sharpening their crayons. And it's just what we need, a tell-all from the woman who spent 2 years telling everyone that Joe just had a cold and not rigor mortis. If the title hadn't already been taken, it should be called Art of the Steal. KJP also says she's leaving the Democratic Party. I say God bless her. Not many people have the patience to wait in a line that long.
Megyn Kelly dissected Karine Jean-Pierre's entire performance like a science experiment gone wrong, exposing how hollow, rehearsed, and completely clueless it all sounded. Then Greg Gutfeld completely lost it when Karine Jean-Pierre talked about inflation as casually as if it were a trending TikTok sound. He launched into a dead-on impression, copying the awkward pauses, the circular non-answers, and the blank stares before landing the perfect punchline, saying she is the only person alive who can turn a simple yes or no question into a 10-minute journey to absolutely nowhere.
Jean-Pierre reinventing herself as an independent. This from, it's everywhere, but this is just from the New York Post right up. that she claims she's no longer a Democrat. She's coming out with a book, a memoir, hyping, says the New York Post, a, quote, broken Biden administration. They go on to say that it's a tell-all she's working on now, and it's going to be a look inside. Independent is the name of it. A look inside a broken White House outside the party lines, due in October. Hachette, which is publishing it, says Jean-Pierre did not come to her decision to be an independent.
Megyn Kelly takedown was sharp, classy, and devastatingly calm, like a professor patiently explaining why you cannot eat soup with a fork. She laid out Karine Jean-Pierre greatest hits. Let me circle back, and the president has been very clear, sir. Lines that have become punchlines in their own right. By the end it felt like Karine Jean-Pierre had tripped over her own binder and landed face first into a pile of mockery. Megyn Kelly delivery was the perfect blend of exhausted teacher and stand-up comedian, and if communication skills were currency, Karine Jean-Pierre would be completely broke while Megyn Kelly would be there collecting every last cent. And Greg Gutfeld was not even close to finished. He introduced a skit featuring a goldfish and a tiny blazer standing in as Karine Jean-Pierre replacement, and the shocking part was the goldfish actually got applause.
In this book, she may focus her ire on figures aside from Biden. Quote, she has served 2 American presidents, Obama and Biden. She takes us through the 3 weeks that led to Biden's abandoning his bid for a second term and the betrayal by the Democrat Party that led to his decision. The tease goes, and she's going to regale us with a hard-hitting yet hopeful critique defining what it means to be part of the growing percentage of our fractured electorate that is independent, why it can be worthwhile to carve a political space more loyal to personal beliefs than a party affiliation, and what questions you need to ask yourself to determine where you fit politically. You've got to.
Greg Gutfeld then unveiled a chart, and the thing looked like it was designed by a bored 12-year-old in Microsoft Paint on a rainy afternoon. It tracked how often Karine Jean-Pierre actually gives a direct answer, and the line was completely flat like a pancake glued to zero. The only blips on the graph were tiny bumps labeled accidentally said something real without meaning to. The chart did not even need a punchline because it was the punchline. People in the audience were either laughing out loud or slowly shaking their heads because that flatline said more about the situation than any roast ever could.
Republicans hate her. She's not in any position to be a connector of our 2-party system, and assuming she could be is just ego. It's so good. They're all ripping on her, some by name, saying how dumb she was, how she's a joke, and literally nobody's buying her ability to be an independent connector who somehow is going to heal the partisan breach. Stu, back to my original point when her soundbite was playing of how those were all.
Megyn Kelly opened smoothly, saying Karine Jean-Pierre communicates like a GPS permanently stuck on recalculating even when the car is not moving. She suggested Karine Jean-Pierre might be the first press secretary in history to intentionally leave people more confused after every briefing. Then Greg Gutfeld jumped in, saying she has turned question dodging into a fine art, serving up word salad so tangled even jazz musicians could not follow it. Megyn Kelly added that Karine Jean-Pierre sounds like someone who memorized their lines without ever understanding what a single word means. Then Greg Gutfeld pulled Karine Jean-Pierre's signature frozen wide-eyed expression that screams I am totally fine while everything is clearly on fire, and Megyn Kelly calmly sipped her tea, watching the slow-motion train wreck unfold with the quiet satisfaction of someone who saw it coming from miles away.
You have to say goodbye to Karine Jean-Pierre. I'm sorry, guys, but she's going. It's like, this is the way it's going to, it's the one sadness of Trump winning because let's face it, we're going to miss her a little bit. Like, I mean, I kind of missed her word salads. In fact, I'll start with the word salads just so you too will be feeling the pangs that I've been feeling. Here's a little montage of some of the best / worst of Karine Jean-Pierre at the podium.
It is hard for us to keep up with this president. What I see is a strong, resolute president. We're seeing these deep fakes, these manipulated videos.
By the way, used to make beer brewed here. It is used to make the brew beer in this refinery. Oh, Earth Riders, thanks for the Great Lakes.
Is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
Greg Gutfeld drifted into a full comedic daydream, imagining Karine Jean-Pierre running a restaurant using her signature slow, serious tone. He narrated that the waiter will arrive once appetizer strategy is aligned with kitchen leadership priorities, and by the time dessert was finally discussed, the imaginary customers had already eaten the actual menu out of sheer desperation. Then Megyn Kelly jumped in, calm as ever but absolutely devastating, imagining Karine Jean-Pierre giving directions to a Lost tourist. Instead of pointing left or right, she starts explaining that left is a social construct and the map is currently under review, leaving the tourist even more lost than before, quietly questioning whether maps are even real. And the wildest part was neither of them raised their voices even once. That calm, steady delivery somehow hit harder than any shouting ever could, while Greg Gutfeld humor felt like a chainsaw at a ballet recital, loud, chaotic, and gloriously destructive, pure chaos wrapped inside a punchline.
She realizes she was carrying water for a man whose brain was as wet as his pants. Remember, this is the same broad who stared America in the face and said this.
Comments were made in that report about that, obviously about his memory that we don't believe lives in reality. 80's the new 40. Didn't you hear? He is as sharp as ever. They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith.
And it's not true, right? The president wasn't wandering.
Is anyone in the White House hiding information about the president's health or his ability to do the job day to day?
Absolutely not.
He's the president of the United States. I can't even keep up with him.
Megyn Kelly delivered her burns with the quiet, cool energy of a villain sipping champagne while the building collapses behind her. She never needed volume. Her words were sharp and smooth, like a blade that cuts before you even realize you have been struck. Every time she spoke, the room somehow felt colder and even more brutal. Together, she and Greg Gutfeld turned the segment into a full sarcastic symphony with scripts abandoned, professionalism left at the door, and pure comedy playing over the smoldering ruins of what used to be political discussion. At one point, Greg Gutfeld wondered out loud whether Karine Jean-Pierre's entire approach might actually be performance art, a deliberate effort to confuse everyone while saying absolutely nothing, and Megyn Kelly half agreed, suggesting she might be piloting a strange new format, part corporate meeting, part fever dream, a show that makes absolutely zero sense but somehow never ends.
I don't have anything. I don't have anything. I don't have anything. I don't have anything. I just don't have anything. I don't have anything. We don't have anything.
Okay, we could have kept going, because let's not forget when he thought that the dead Congresswoman was alive. Where's Jackie? She was just top of mind. She was top of mind. That's what Karine Jean-Pierre tried to tell us. And the obsessive note reading, right? She could not do the job without reading for the first 2 years of it. She got a little better on that.
The Kelly file practically slid its way through the highlights, and if press briefings were an Olympic event, Karine Jean-Pierre would be out there attempting triple flips on the confusion beam, sticking every landing straight into a pit of nonsense. Greg Gutfeld wrapped everything up with a circus music montage of Karine Jean-Pierre's most awkward moments, ending on a dramatic freeze frame with Karine Jean-Pierre mid-blink looking like her internal system had completely crashed, while Megyn Kelly raised one perfectly arched eyebrow and said this is the person responsible for informing the public, before delivering that signature smile, sweet on the surface but absolutely lethal underneath. It was not a debate, and it was not even an argument. It was a full-blown comedy roast, with Greg Gutfeld launching the jokes, Megyn Kelly dropping the shade, and Karine Jean-Pierre spinning in increasingly frantic circles as if confusion somehow counts as progress.
First, what she's referring to, Link, is the fact that she's black and she's a lesbian. Like, this is what the left celebrates. That's her history-making role that she hopes everybody will find inspirational. Like lesbian children were growing up all over the country thinking, I'm never going to be press secretary because I'm a lesbian. I mean, it's just so, what, right. Are we in 19?
In the end, this was not some furious, heated political showdown. It felt more like an elegant comedy dinner party where Karine Jean-Pierre was supposed to deliver the keynote speech but somehow ended up becoming the main course instead. Greg Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly were not being cruel, they were being honest, just in the funniest way imaginable. It was like watching someone spell cat with a Q. You cannot even be angry because the answer is right there, and by the time their segments wrapped, the audience was not just entertained, they were completely united, bonded together by the collective bewilderment of trying to decode what Karine Jean-Pierre was actually attempting to say, because when sitting through a press briefing feels like solving a mystery while being chased by a bear in flip-flops, something has gone seriously and spectacularly off the rails. And the best part was Greg Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly never had to yell and never had to become dramatic. They simply used sharp wit, perfect timing, and that dangerously calm delivery that somehow cuts deeper than any outburst ever could. They will be back, the jokes will fly, the tea will spill, and as for Karine Jean-Pierre, she will return 2 binder full of maybes, a pocket full of circle backs, and an unshakable commitment to turning every single question into a masterclass and saying absolutely nothing at all.